Thank you for finding the NSE podcast on YouTube. To find links for our online hospitality security training, check out the video description below. Enjoy the Nightlife Security Podcast. Welcome to the Nightlife Security Podcast, a professional resource for the nightlife security industry. Whether you're a hospitality security professional, owner, or operator, this is the podcast for you. We're here to inform, educate, and entertain. Let's get started. Welcome to Nightlife Security Podcast. This is your host, Manny Marquez. We are here in studio with Dr. Richard Bistline. Rick, welcome back to San Diego. We try to get a podcast churned out every time you're here, but we were having some discussions, and this was related to recent training. And there's a particular slide on your presentation that I think catches people's attention, and it's 5 common practices that often get security officers, security guards in trouble. And we thought it would be a good idea just to talk about that one slide, review some common practices that we see all the time that often lead to situations going sideways and that are totally preventable, but guards for some reason continue to do it again and again. And we talk a little bit about your expert witness experiences, and many times it's these small little subtle things that occur that lead to something big and to civil litigation. And we wanted to share some insights with our listeners. So I think the way we'll do this is I'll list the practice, the behavior, the thing that happens commonly among security officers, and then we can talk about why that's a bad thing and usually what the outcome is. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So here's one. And again, before we get started, I'm just going to say that, we don't want to talk bad about the listeners, and you might think as you listen to this that this podcast that, oh yeah, that's something I've done before. But we do want to provide it as a cautionary tale because we think you could probably do things better and in a way that would be safer and provide for a better outcome. So this one happens quite a bit, and there's multiple reasons why it happens, but something will happen inside a venue, and the security officer guards decide to chase that individual outside the venue to confront them. Let's talk about that one.
So this one comes up quite a bit. And, I'm going to get this out of the way too, because you and I talk about this. I talk about this in the training. Ego is the enemy, right? Doesn't mean men or women. Men obviously struggle more with their ego than women do, but psychologically and historically. But thinking about it, ego is the enemy. And it's something that we all have to strive to fight off and change. And it's not easy to do, especially when we're in a high-risk position like this. But when, we have an incident where somebody gets into a fight, somebody grabs a bottle of booze, somebody punches somebody in the face and tries to run out the door, we get the idea in our heads that I need to stop them. I need to get them. I need to do my job. I've got to protect this person, this woman, this bartender, this other guest. And I'm going to chase this person out the door. And when we do that, we leave our controlled environment and, we don't have any backup. Maybe people are following us, but you get out into the parking lot, you get to the parking garage, you get down the street, and kind of all bets are off at that point. You essentially lose your protection by the insurance company, by the venue, because now you put yourself in a position where, you're not doing your job anymore. You're becoming I hate to say the word, but vigilante. Chasing people out of the venue causes way more problems than it solves. Let them go. Be a good witness. You got to use your good judgment. And being a good witness is key here. We have video. If it's, again, you're in a controlled environment. You got video to back you up. You've got witnesses to back you up. When you run out into the street, when you run into the parking garage, all things happen that nobody's going to see. It's going to be your word against theirs. Not only that, but everybody carries guns. Everybody carries guns in their car. They get to their car and they're already pissed off at you, and they decide that what, today's the day. They get the gun out, and that could end very badly for us. So there's a lot of pieces here that really, really bothers me in terms of officer safety. It just isn't worth the risk or the potential of injury and the officer safety implications that go with it.
So you see this happen a lot, where I think like you said, it's the ego. Someone gets slighted. They decide they want to enact some sort of revenge or have some sort of outcome that justifies this move to chase somebody outside. And the problem with that is your problem's on its way out the door. It's already left the building. There is no reason for that pursuit. And oftentimes you also hear this in situations to where like a dine and dash, right? Or somebody didn't pay their tab. And what I tell managers and employees is that sometimes that's just the cost of doing business. You gotta let that go and chalk it up, because the downside of confronting that situation, there's a lot more cost associated than one would think. One of the stories that I share is, it wasn't your expert witness case, but it was actually Robert's expert witness case. Robert C. Smith, the founder of Nightlife Security Consultants. We had a case in where it was a guy comes in to a hotel lobby, has 2 martinis. He didn't like the price tag, and instead of paying his full bill, the tab was like $48, $24 a martini. He leaves $40 instead. Bartender sees this, calls security. Security confronts the guy out front. Scuffle ensues. The guy falls, breaks his hip. That suit settled for about $250,000. So a $250,000 settlement for what was the actual loss? $8. And so you don't quite think of those things in those situations, but just consider that there's a lot more risk involved in that pursuit or chasing somebody than what's worth it, right? And
your job in a security role, your job is to remove the problem from the venue. And once they're gone, they're gone. Again, be a good witness. Use good judgment. There's no reason to follow them out there. Again, you are putting yourself in a situation because, first of all, we got to expect the unexpected. We have no idea what this person's capabilities are. We have no idea if they're, again, carrying a gun, carrying a knife, whatever the case may be. It's just not worth the effort. Once they're gone, your responsibility shifts back to the venue. It's not worth it. Over $8 and somebody, getting $250,000, it's not necessary. And it's not worth the risk. It's not worth the liability. And it's certainly not worth your life.
Okay, let's move on to the second practice that happens commonly in the hospitality environment. And I see this one all the time.
Oh, yeah.
As well. It's normally there's 2 instances which it occurs. If an individual is trying to leave the venue out the front door and they have a drink in their hand. The other place I see it is end of the night, you're trying to do a hard last call, get everybody out the front door. And this is snatching drinks out of people's hands. Let's talk about this one.
I talk about this one. We get to this one, and it's amazing to me how adamant these attendees of our training get. Oh, no, we don't let drinks leave out of here. We can't let them leave out of here. And I say this every single training, and Robert says it every single training I've heard him do. In the 21 years of being with Nightlife Security Consultants, I have never seen a bar shut down because alcoholic beverage left the front door. And the reason is, if you're making an effort, and the law actually says this in almost any state that I've seen the law written in, if you are doing what you can to stop the alcohol from leaving, whether somebody's sneaking a drink out, whether somebody's in a cup, if you're in a jurisdiction that doesn't allow you to drink outside the venue or take your drink outside the venue, I've never seen a bar shut down for that, as long as you're making the effort to stop it. And we all know that you don't want drinks to leave.
And what's a key word? A reasonable effort, right?
Well, reasonable effort.
Yeah, so we say that because you can't just let drinks fly out and not make an attempt, but there needs to be an attempt to make a reasonable effort. Once you've made that reasonable effort, then that's where that stops.
And that's where the argument comes. When I don't say argument, it's where the pushback I get is, well, no, we don't allow drinks to leave. We just can't let it happen. And they can't wrap their mind around the idea that, well, if it gets out of there, we're going to get in trouble. We're going to lose our liquor license. I'm like, no, you won't. If you're making a reasonable effort, even if the state liquor control board or the police department is in there watching you at the end of the night and see people sneaking drinks out, but you're making a reasonable effort to stop them and get people to, hey, put your drink over here, throw it away, putting trash cans at the front door, which is usually what we do. But if somebody sneaks a drink tries to sneak a drink out, and you start snatching them out of the hands, you're instigating violence. You're instigating someone else, especially if they're intoxicated already. You're pushing them for a fight. You're not de-escalating anyone. You're escalating a situation. And you got to give clear instructions to people and let them know, hey, we can't take that drink out of here. Finish it quickly, toss it to the side, step outside. But it's an aggressive move that is unnecessary, and it causes unnecessary risk, not only to your safety. You snatch a drink out, doesn't like what you did to them because you're grabbing their girl's drink out of their hand, or you're grabbing a drink out of some guy's hand, and they turn around and just pop you in the face. you're asking for trouble when you're instigating that way. First of all, we have to communicate that, have the right number of people at the door on the way out, communicate to them what we want them to do. And you know what? If they grab a drink and run, hey, call the police, or if you got a detail out front, hey, get their attention, say that guy just took off with a drink. You're making a reasonable effort, and you can show that. And even if it comes back to you later on that, somebody sues you for something along the lines of somebody getting a drink out, you have evidence to support that you try to do it and stop it every single night. And again, reasonable effort. But the juice isn't worth the squeeze here. Honestly, it just isn't. It's going to, again, cause people to be more aggressive, especially at that time of night when most people are already drunk, already have problems, and they just want to leave and go home.
Yeah, and I think the reason why this happens is I actually blame management ownership quite a bit on this topic, because management has this way of trying to enforce the rules, and it becomes a mandate. And when they're telling their employees no drinks can leave the venue, zero, none, right? Because they're scared of that violation. The message should be, okay, I need you to make a reasonable effort, right, to not let that drink to leave. Sir, I can't, like you said, you give them options. The other thing is, think about your signage. No outside drinks, right? No drinks can't be taken outside. That creates the expectation for the guest of what their behavior needs to be. The other thing is, at the end of the night, you see this where bars will do a hard push, right? We can't have any consumption after certain times. Most states are 2 a.m. And what they'll do is we'll serve drinks till 1:50. We'll give people 10 minutes to finish their drink. And then when they're not finished, then we go in and we start snatching drinks away and dumping them in trash cans, which is, one, just a poor way of doing things. It's not a hospitable practice. Our advice is always give yourself plenty of lead time to wind things down, 30, 40 minutes. Then you do your last drink. Gradually bring up the lights, softly tell people, thank you for joining us tonight, but it's time to leave. Please finish up your drinks, right? That snatching of the drink, again, will lead to unwanted altercations. And at that point of the night, right, everyone's tuned up anyway. So you're putting a stop on the party. You're the bad guy, and that's where bad things happen.
And the party already stopping anyway. So if you give them the lead time, like you said, if you give them 15 minutes and you hard push them, if you start snatching drinks out of people's hands, they're going to be like, I just paid for this drink. They're going to, first of all, feel disrespected as a guest, and their guest experience just immediately goes away. It doesn't matter how much fun they had that night. They're going to remember the fact you tried to take a drink out of their hand. And all their friends are going to be there watching, and then escalation begins immediately. So give them time. Sure, we have guests that are going to, sit around and wait till the last minute to leave. We can deal with that kind of stuff. But again, communication is key. And again, we aren't going to get shut down for those drinks. And I want to mention one other thing. You talk about management and ownership always enforcing these rules. Like, you see these rules, this one in particular, as such a big deal, when there's other rules that they don't follow that are even more of a big deal, that get them in more trouble than things like this. There's so many examples, but this one just seems to rub everybody the wrong way, and they get wrapped around the axle. You let them go. If you're making a reasonable effort and they get out, they get out. Let it go.
Again, set your team up for success. Give your guests plenty of time to wind down that night. Establish expectations on the exit doors, signage, so people know what the rules are. Okay, so that's one that we see all the time. The third one, and this came up in training yesterday. We're doing a training with a client here in San Diego. And for whatever reason, again, going to your point of ego, when a guest is filming you, and oftentimes it's a situation or an incident is escalating, and that's when people are going to pull out their cameras. They're going to try to catch a viral moment, and guards don't like that. Let's talk about that one.
Somebody pulls out their phone. It automatically creates this response of, well, I'm on film. Well, if you're on film and you're not doing...
You have to have my permission to film me.
Well, yeah. And if you're on film, the idea is, so what? If you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have to worry about. And this goes to like police officers and body cams. For so long, we fought that process of body cams being on camera. So what? Everybody has a camera. Assume that everybody is filming you. It is not that big of a deal. You're on camera anyway because the venue has cameras. You're on camera. So what? They're in your face. They're filming you. It's annoying. You may feel like it's harassment, like the video of the attorney that I show. It feels like harassment, but it's not harassment. Unless your venue has specific policies that are written on the wall while they're inside your venue, they can film. They can film if they want to. Now, it's up to you how you want to handle that policy, and that's not really what we're talking about here, but it's more the incidents where people get tossed out, people are asked to leave, we have guests in the front that don't get let in, for whatever reason it is, they want to pull out their camera and start filming the host at the front door, and they just stand there and film. And the front door host, the guards get upset. They get mad because somebody's out there filming them. Well, guess what? That's First Amendment right. They can stand out there all day long and film if they want to. If that's how they want to choose to spend their time, then let them. It's not hurting you. Again, assume everybody is filming. If you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. The problem is, this is another one, gets them wrapped around the axle. So what? It's not a big deal. It's a job. It's nothing personal. They're trying to goad you in, and this is what we said yesterday. They're trying to goad you into doing something that you wouldn't normally do, and they're doing something that they know is pissing you off, and they're going to keep doing it. If you walk away, turn around, or you just wave to them and say thank you for coming in and be polite, be professional, they're going to go away eventually. They're looking for you. They want that social media moment. They want that viral clip to go out so that they look like the heroes. They captured you doing something wrong, when in essence, you don't need to do anything at all. You can just stand there and be professional.
Yeah, just a couple things for clarification on the legal side of this, because Rick said in public, there's no expectation of privacy. Anybody has a right to film you in public.
Yep.
Okay, that's one. Within our own doors, we can set policies that say no filming, right? This is common in gentlemen's clubs. The other areas where you might have expectations of privacy would be in the bathrooms, right? Or if you work in a hotel environment, their rooms. Those are all perfectly legit reasons why you would ask somebody to stop filming.
Correct.
In a venue, if you don't have that policy, you don't have it posted, right? What we call that is it's private property, but it's public access. The public has access to that. Unless you establish the guidelines and rules and post those rules, there's no expectation that people can't film. So let them film. And again, don't take the bait, because once you do, then you become that viral moment. And then that's something you don't want to do. And the last point, you mentioned it, Rick, do things right, and then you'll have nothing to worry about, right?
Assume you're always being recorded. Calm, professional behavior protects you at the end of the day. And emotional reactions become evidence. And that's what they want. They want that moment where they're going to put you on their social media page and they're going to be the hero because it's going to go viral. And they've just made you look like the bad guy in that situation. And you know what? You're not. You're just trying to do your job. Does it feel like harassment? Sure. But it's not.
I'll go a step further. If you conduct yourself in the correct manner and you handle the situation correctly, ask them for that video, because that's a third-party witness, right? A non-biased source of the evidence of what occurred at that moment. That's how we see it.
Yep.
All right. Next one, number 4. We have a confrontation that happens inside the venue, the bar, the restaurant, nightclub, whatever it might be. 2 parties. We'll just say it's 2 individuals, right? And we kick both of those individuals at the same time out onto the street. Let's talk about that one.
So this is actually a international standard of the way security is supposed to react in these situations. And the standard being that if 2 parties get into an argument or get into a fight or whatever the case may be, they need to be separated. They need to be separated and taken out different exits. They need to, or one needs to stay behind till the other one leaves and is off property, out of sight. The other one is left to go. But when you kick them out at the same time, if you put them out at the same time and they're already fighting, you just reunited the conflicting parties in a less controlled environment. You put them out in the parking lot, and what do you think is going to happen? Well, they're going to get into a fight. Somebody's going to go into the car, get a gun. It's going to escalate into a shooting or escalating into a homicide, which I've seen multiple times in multiple videos, in multiple cases. It just isn't good practice. And that's why it's become an international standard. It's a common security practice. If you have 2, and it's common police practice too. If you have 2 people fighting, they're living in the same house, generally speaking, one of them needs to go and get one to volunteer. But in this case, we split the parties. We take them out different doors. We escort them properly. Or hold one back, let one go, and then let the other one go. Because again, you put them out together, they're going to fight. We got to separate them. We got to stagger the exits, and we got to use that cooling off time to keep them from reigniting that confrontation. Because what happens is, again, if we put them out there, there's all kinds of chances for bad things to happen. Weapons, other violence. It just can go from bad to worse. And if we facilitate that, we are holding ourselves liable in that situation.
Yeah, and from a standard practice, typically when I was in management and we were running and I was running security operations, typical practice is we have 2 parties, right? It was normally the most offensive, violent, or hard to deal with party that we'd get out the front door first, right? Allow a period of cooling off, use time. We can wait. We can let the other party stay inside. We can ask them to stay inside for your protection. We're looking out for you.
Here's some water.
And you allow that time, right? And then there should also be some sort of, if you wait that time, you should be looking for making sure that the other party has been on their way left, right? And then we send the other party in the opposite direction. You have a duty. We talked about this in yesterday's training. Like, there's a duty to intercede, right? We got to break up that fight. Then there's a duty to reasonably protect the parties. And part of that process is we don't throw them both out in the street at the same time. We don't allow things to ramp up, because even though it's not your fight, even though you're not putting hands on each other, you have a duty to protect those parties. And we've said this all the time. You can get sued for what you do and what you don't do, right?
Yep.
So if we throw two parties outside and we just let them go at it, there's liability that exists in that situation. So consider that. Be smart. Get them out opposite doors. Making sure we're using the clock to allow one party to move along on its way and then the other, right? That's reasonable.
Absolutely.
And if we demonstrate that, document that as well after the incident, so we can make sure to demonstrate that we did the right thing.
Time and distance diffuses tension all day long, and it allows that conflict to separate. The time and distance for the two parties to get to their car, to be able to get out of there or get an Uber or whatever the case may be. That standard of care is on us until they are no longer in our custody. If they leave and we separate them and do the best we can in a reasonable manner and do the best job we can to separate them and get them off going in separate directions, they reunite somewhere else. We did all we can do. It's like, somebody that's overly intoxicated. We can't control what other people do. If somebody's going to go out and drive after they leave your venue, they're going to go out and drive. We can only do what we can do to limit that person from making a mistake. And this is the same way. We do what's reasonable in this case. We separate the parties. We stagger their exits. We take the time and they need to cool down and move on from there.
I'm going to add one last thing for those venues, individuals who use handcuffs. This is another time, because we've had cases where one party's restrained, handcuffed, set aside, but not looked after, and the other party goes and gets a free shot in because this guy has his hands behind his back. So treat them like babies, right? Once you have handcuffs on somebody, you treat them like a baby and make sure they're protected. Okay, last one, number 5, and this is something that I see quite a bit in venues. And next time you go to a nightclub or a bar or a venue that has security, be cognizant of this. Guards that are distracted by scrolling on their cell phone while they're working. This one bugs me to no end because, 1, they're on the clock, right? 2, they've been employed to protect the business, but instead they're caught up in their personal business, doom scrolling on their phone. Let's go with that one.
You know what? It gets slow. And this isn't just bars, clubs, restaurants. This is any business. We go to 7-Eleven right now, and the person behind the counter is going to be on their phone. It's a guest experience issue. But more importantly, to your point, security is responsible for being situationally aware about what's going on, paying attention to the surroundings going on, and they're missing body language. They're missing potential conflict. They're missing signs of intoxication. If they're on their phone checking IDs at 11 o'clock at night, and they're on their phone, and they have somebody walk up, they take their ID, I got to get back to my scrolling. I'm going to dump it back in your hand, and you can come on in. And that person's blitzed out of their mind, and they're stumbling in. We just let them in. And most incidents give warning signs, and if we don't pay attention to the warning signs, an intoxicated guest coming in, an angry guest coming in, or even inside and we're on a post, if we're scrolling on our phone, we're not paying attention to what's going on around us. And you can't see them if your face is buried in the phone. And you can see it everywhere. People walking down the street. And this drives me insane. If I'm walking through an airport and people are on their phone, they're getting ready to bump into me because they're not paying attention to where they're going. This is even worse because you are responsible for the safety of your guests, the safety of your teammates, and the protection of assets of your venue. And do social media some other time. You don't need to do it while you're working. Yes, maybe you get bored. Maybe there's nothing going on. It's still your responsibility. And I always I think about the Las Vegas strip club in Tampa, the incident with the gun, that guy, the devil mask, I would show that video. You can see in the video, the guard working the front door was looking in the parking lot at something. He was present. He was paying attention. He was looking at the parking lot. And this guy was scooting behind him to try to get past him without him noticing him. And it just so happens he turned around and looked. Now, that momentary distraction by something in the parking lot almost missed a gun going in that venue to cause a mass shooting. In this case, he noticed it. What happens if somebody just walks up with a weapon and you're not paying attention? It can happen just like that, folks. And if you're not paying attention to what's going around you, something bad is going to happen.
And for managers, owners, create the culture where, phones when needed, if it's part of the role of their position. My general policy when I ran bars and restaurants and nightclubs was, I don't want to see your cell phone ever, especially on the floor. If you need to check a message, you need to text a loved one or a friend, ask permission, pull yourself off the floor into the back of the house, do your thing, and then come back out. But while we're on duty, I just didn't allow it because my biggest thing is it's a signal to the guest that you're not important, right? To me, the most important asset in your business is your guest, right? You got to treat them like gold. If I'm on the phone, if I'm scrolling, then that sends a signal to me as a guest that I'm not important. There was a new pizza place that opened near my house, and I hadn't tried them. I thought I'd give them a try. Looked like a family-owned business. Let's see if I can support a local business. I walked in, and the guy was sitting on a chair, scrolling, and I sat by the counter. It had to be maybe 40 seconds. It wasn't that, 40 seconds doesn't sound like that long, but when you're waiting for attention, it is a long time. Guy never even saw me. I just turned around and I walked right out. And it wasn't until I opened the door that he realized that somebody was in his business, right? He could have had a customer. He might have had a longtime customer, but that one impression told me that I wasn't important. The other thing too is think about the bigger picture of things. If something does happen, if you missed it and those video cameras show you that you were distracted, right? So you're not performing your responsibilities, not doing your job, you're liable for that, right? You can sue for what you do and don't do. So I think that's a good list of 5. There's many more that are in this same vein, the same basket of dumb things that we do that can get us in trouble, get hurt, or other people hurt. Love to hear some more from your side. So in the comments or whatever platform you're listening to, love to hear that. Rick, did you have anything you wanted to add before we close it up?
I think my biggest takeaway for this, we talked about what we were really going to focus on here. And one of the key things to me in this whole thing, every one of these issues, they're personal to me and issues to me because I consider them an officer safety risk. They're an officer safety risk, not only, again, coming back to the idea that you are protecting your teammates, you're protecting your guests, you're protecting the venue, but you're also protecting yourself. Most of these security failures aren't tactical, they're behavioral. And if you don't consider that and don't think about the impact that you're going to have and how important it is that if you use good judgment and if you become a good witness to somebody runs out the door, be a good witness, use good judgment. Don't chase people if you don't have to. Don't snatch drinks out of people's hands if you don't have to. Don't get emotional. Just take your time. Think through things. Things come at us fast, and we are working in a high-risk environment. But professionalism in this business protects careers, protects guests, protects the venue. Small decisions that you make can prevent incidents from happening. Every shift is an audition when you're working that door, when you're working the floor. Not only does your guest remember you, you're creating a good guest experience by having interactions with them, but you're also keeping the venue safe. You're keeping yourself safe, which is the most important thing. And one thing I always say every single time I'm in the room in front of folks, all I care about is them doing their job safer, smarter, better, because I want them to go home at the end of the day. There are so many guards out there that we see videos every single day of loss of life in this industry because of small things like this that lead to bigger incidents.
Yeah, and for management ownership, I'm going to say one more thing. Create the culture. Create the culture in which behaviors like this are not the way we do things. And if you create the culture, then as new people come into the environment, they'll adapt to that culture. Don't let them dictate what your culture should be. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for giving us your time, taking a listen to this podcast. I just want to invite, if there's any ownership, even security guards, officers, people in hospitality security, if you have questions, if you want to have a discussion, talk about your operations, we offer a free 30-minute consultation that you can bounce some ideas off us. Let us know your goals. We can give you recommendations. For the longest time, since I've been a part of NSC, we're a resource first and foremost. And we like to provide people with the right information and at least point them in the right direction. If we happen to do business, great. If not, we'll wish you the best of luck. but we're a resource first and foremost. So take advantage of that. I'll put my calendar link. You can set up a time to call, and we can have a 30-minute consultation, Zoom call or a phone call, whatever works for you.
And stressing that one last thing, I always offer this to our own clients that we have. We're a resource. We're there for you. We're there for ownership. They want us to come there and support you. We're here to support you. So you can reach out to us anytime. And those of you out there have our cards and information, please reach out to us. We're here to help.
We're easy to get a hold of.
Yes, we are.
My email's out there, and I'll leave them in the show notes as well. So, all right, well, we'll wrap it up. Until next time, everybody be safe, and as always, be nice.